This is the LZR Project, an episodic story series by David and Alderman. The LZR Project takes place within David's Expired Reality universe and serves as a prequel to the main novels in his Expired Reality series. You can find out more about David's Expired Reality series at davidandalderman.com. Episode number 13. Monday, April 27th, 1998. Carrie Green set her cup of herbal tea on the round blue table in the LZR Project break room and took a seat on the plastic blue chair. She felt nothing but relief in being able to get off her feet after a long day of helping her friends chase down another of Mr. Big's thugs. Carrie worked to undo the straps of her bulletproof vest and smiled when it dropped to the floor, releasing her of its burdensome weight. She took a sip of her tea and then stared into the small mug to watch the ripples in the brown water slosh back and forth against the ceramic walls. The turbulent liquid reminded her of her own tumultuous spirit. Her trip to Crystal City continued to haunt her not just in the middle of the day, but in the evenings as well, in her nightmares. She awoke multiple times in the night in a dripping sweat, her sheets soaked with anxiety and fear. Every waking moment, her heart pleaded with her to seek out David and tell him of her vision of his death within the amethyst walls of that cavern in Crystal City. But she couldn't bring herself to speak to him about such things. Instead, she kept her mouth shut, her head down, and kept herself out of the spotlight. She knew David was starting to catch on to the fact that something was wrong, but she would keep her ruse going as long as she could. Carrie took another sip of tea and let the warm liquid slide down her throat while she closed her eyes and took time to be still. She attempted to shut her brain off, to try and silence the images of David's death, of the old woman in the gypsy costume, of the shards of crystal that mirrored her worst fears. Carrie had nobody else to turn to in regard to this. Veronica wouldn't understand. Sean was useless, and David couldn't be told about the vision without being made aware of her true feelings for him, which would cause the visions in the crystal to come true. Carrie Green? Carrie opened her eyes. A slender brunette with green eyes that resembled the color found in the trees of the forest of Lindor took a seat next to her. "You're Carrie Green, aren't you?" She wore a white blouse, and her hair had been tied into 3 braids that went down her back and ended at her waistline. Carrie set down her cup of tea and rubbed her hands together with the heat from her beverage. "Possibly," she said. She knew it sounded stupid to say that. People were who people were, but she couldn't think of anything else to say. She had seen the girl performing filing duties around the office, but she didn't know who she was. My name is Brooke." "I've seen you around the office," Carrie said. "Yeah, I do lots of different things around here. Look, this is awkward, but I was wondering if you might be able to help me with something." "Like what? I'm pretty busy." Brooke glanced innocently down at Carrie's cup of tea, but did not offer a rebuttal. "I need your help." "With what?" Carrie asked. "There's a man. I met him at Lysallis University a few weeks ago. He was a professor or teacher there. He was part of the faculty, that's all I know about that. Or all I remember. Anyway, he and I started talking about superstitions and the supernatural. He was pretty knowledgeable in things. Things that have to do with the dark side, with what hides in the shadows." Carrie scooted her cup of tea closer to her chest and backed her chair up. "Thanks for creeping me out on my break." Brooke reached out and grabbed hold of Carrie's arm. Please, he enchanted me at first, but after that I saw who he really was. A demon, a Gargant. There was something in his eyes, something beyond madness, something not of our realm. Let go of my arm. You're the only one that I can come to for help. You're the only one of the laser blades that I trust." Carrie pulled her arm out of the girl's grip and stood to her feet. "I suggest you find someone else to help you with your problem." "Does the name Alex ring a bell?" Brooke asked. Carrie dropped her cup as it shattered against the tile floor and splattered her dirty water every which way. Brooke gritted her teeth. "You understand now, Carrie, why I came to you specifically. This man I met, this man who is stalking me, this man, this beast, this Gargant. He's the same man you killed that night at the Tiffany Briggs Hotel." Carrie kicked her chair back behind her as it toppled down. Then she lunged toward the girl, grabbed her by the throat, and slammed her up against the wall. "You're going to tell me how you know that name. Then you're going to tell me who sent you here to rile me up like this." Carrie squeezed Brooke's neck. "I'm in no mood for games. That man nearly killed David." She turned and made sure nobody else was in the hallways that branched off the break room. Then she loosened her grip on Brooke's neck. "Now talk." Brooke slid to the floor, clutching the bright red handprint around her throat. He's alive, Carrie. I've seen him. I've looked into his eyes. Those eyes. I know you think you killed him, but you didn't. He wanders the campus. I've seen him interact with other students, mainly girls. But besides stalking me, I haven't seen him cause any trouble. What room on the campus? His classroom is in room 35 on the east side of the campus. The security on that side of the property is almost non-existent. I stay far away from there, even though one of my classes skirts that area. Carrie turned and stormed her way across the break room, ready to deal punishment to whoever this man was, who had people convinced he was the walking corpse of a man whom Carrie herself killed years earlier. He goes by another name, Carrie. She stopped in her tracks and turned back toward Brooke. The girl had gotten to her feet. What name? Rin. At least, that's a name he likes to mumble to himself when he's walking around campus. I've seen it written on the chalkboard in his classroom. Nothing else on the board but that name. Who is Rin? I don't know. I've heard the name briefly mentioned in lectures on the supernatural and dark magic, but I don't have anything concrete to tell you. Alex is dangerous, Carrie, as if you didn't know that already. Alex is dead, Carrie stated confidently. Dead. He is no more. I threw him off a helicopter hundreds of feet in the air. Brooke nodded, and then her eyes widened. He stands at the end of my bed at night. When I open my eyes, he smiles, and his teeth... Carrie pointed at the girl. Shut your mouth. Alex is dead. He's not, Carrie. Go see for yourself. I'll even go with you. So I can walk right into your trap? It's not a trap. I'm going to the school to see for myself. Sean walked by the break room, and without hesitating, Carrie called him into the room and instructed him to keep an eye on Brooke. Then she left the building, took one of the LZR SUVs, and headed toward the university. When she arrived, she pulled a pulse pistol from the armory in the trunk and secured the vehicle after leaving a message on the radio to be broadcast to David and Ridley if she wasn't back within a half hour. The air outside was crisp and cool, and the scent of wet grass tickled her nose. Green lawns spread out into darkness before her, hugging the black pavement that weaved in and out of the massive red brick buildings of the school grounds like a dark serpent. Amber lamps spilled their soft light along the paths. Carrie made sure the end of her green blouse covered the holster on her side in an attempt to conceal her weapon from anyone wandering the campus that late at night. Her first step was to track down a directory, which she found underneath an archway leading to a massive outdoor concourse area. She examined the small map embedded in brown stone and found room 35 to be on the far end of the campus from where she was. She started in that direction, fully aware that she was heading for trouble in one shape or form. But I have to find out if Alex is still alive, she reminded herself. Carrie reached the area room 35 was in, behind the main building near a line of pine trees that shielded the campus from the winds that came down from the hills. Random students and faculty roamed the grounds, relieving Carrie of some of her anxiety about this being a trap. Carrie passed a couple making out on a bench, barely stopping to catch a breath when Carrie neared. She couldn't help but wonder what David was up to. She knew he didn't sleep much nowadays, and he wouldn't until Mr. Big was caught. Guilt crept in, chastising Carrie for leaving Brooke at the LZR Project, but she knew she had left the girl in somewhat capable hands. If she made one wrong move, Sean would hurt her. Carrie wouldn't mind, not after the buttons Brooke had pressed. Carrie reached room 35, which was just one of many rooms in a long row of sequentially numbered rooms that stood apart from the main campus building. The rooms were crafted of black brick, and each room had a window that overlooked the rest of the campus. Each of the rooms looked dark and vacant. Upon approaching room 35, Carrie found the door to be painted black. Carrie's stomach suddenly twisted into knots. She found it hard to stand, and her knees hit the black pavement of the winding path. Whispers assaulted her ears, a multitude of voices speaking static jargon she did not understand. A knock came from the other side of the door. Carrie forced herself to stand despite the nausea befalling her, and turned away from the room in hopes of fleeing. The path ended a few feet in front of her, blocked by a wall of pitch darkness. The street lamps refused to cast their tangerine glows, and everyone who had been wandering the campus vanished. "Help!" a woman's voice cried out from the other side of the door. "Please, open the door! Help me!" Carrie turned toward the black door, her heart racing with the possibility of there being someone on the other side who sought escape. Could the room be a prison of some sort? Carrie reached out to touch the gunmetal door handle. As soon as her hand made contact with the knob, a glowing blue leaf slid out from underneath the door, landing between her legs on the black pavement beneath her. She stared down at the leaf, forcing back her compulsion to pick it up. Instead, she looked up at the black door frame, which was scarred with etchings of strange symbols, such as swirls, leaves, and birds. She turned the knob, and the door opened to pure darkness. It wasn't just absence of light, but a true physical sensation of doom and despair. A black hole that seemed to all at once suck the very hope and drive and life out of Carrie's spirit. Blue and purple electricity suddenly flashed within the darkness in the room, each bolt threatening to leap out of room 35 and stun Carrie so the darkness could snatch her within its folds. Carrie stood there, on the black pavement, staring into the electrified horror before her. The blue leaf sat unassumingly on the ground beneath her, glowing with life, with the very opposite of whatever was inside of room 35. "Alex," she called into the room. The darkness and lightning fled, and the overhead fluorescent lighting turned on within room 35 to reveal a normal classroom. The door was no longer black, but blue, and the leaf had vanished. Carrie drew her pulse pistol and stepped across the threshold, surprised when the door did not slam shut behind her. Rows of desks filled the majority of space inside the classroom, while the teacher's desk sat in the left corner. A wide and tall black chalkboard hung on the wall at the front of the room. Just as Brooke had claimed, the word Wren had been written a multitude of times across the entire surface of the chalkboard. The name had been written sideways, right side up, and upside down. It had been written in many different sizes, some taking up the entire length of the white chalkboard, and some so small they were barely legible. "Who is Wren?" she asked herself. An answer did not come. Carrie slowly made her way between the rows of desks, her eyes scanning everything within the room. Most of the classroom presented nothing out of the ordinary. Just bookshelves full of teaching materials, a long counter for projects, and cupboards for supplies. When she approached the teacher's desk, she found sheets of printer paper strewn about its surface, each one showcasing a differently styled drawing of the blue leaf she had seen before entering the room. "What is this?" she whispered. The surface of the desk also contained a rotted apple. Maggots populated the once red surface, which had now turned black and white with mold and mildew. A few inches from the apple stood a 1-foot-tall statue of a building Carrie had only seen in pictures, a cathedral. From what she understood, cathedrals were said to be inhabited by the gods and hidden throughout different parts of the world. They were considered holier than the government-built Lysallises. This cathedral looked different than the beautiful, multicolored ones she had seen in pictures. This cathedral was black. She reached out to touch the statue. "Don't!" her voice of reason screamed. "Turn around, walk away, and leave this place of evil before you are destroyed by it." Ignoring her own counsel, Carrie drew closer to the statue to get a better look. It seemed to be made of metal or stone. She couldn't tell. The black surface had a gloss to it, and a strange energy lured her closer to it. She felt a supreme and almost uncontrollable desire to touch the object, to hold the statue, to possess the little cathedral. "Get back!" her voice of reason screamed, startling her. She stumbled backward, nearly firing off the pulse pistol. "Where are you, Alex?" she asked the empty classroom. "I know you're still alive. I know you're here in this place. I can feel your presence. I can sense you." She glanced down at the rotted apple, wondering if he was in it. She knew he was capable of great evil, and so she did not doubt he could use magic to take any form he wanted. Carrie grabbed one of the drawings of the blue leaf and started toward the door. She left room 35 without incident. Once outside, she found the wall of darkness to be no more, and the school had returned to normal. She returned to the LZR Project, glad to find everyone gone by the time she returned. She made a mental note to inquire with Sean about Brooke's whereabouts. Carrie went straight to her darkened office and sat down at her desk. She placed the blue leaf drawing in front of her and stared at it, captivated and entranced by its elegance and mystery. For some strange reason, a reason she could neither grasp nor understand, the blue leaf reminded her of the gypsy in Crystal City. It was an absurd thought, but then again, she didn't have control over how her thoughts connected. Something about the blue in the gypsy's eyes and the blue pencil this leaf had been colored with seemed eerily familiar. When dawn broke across the skyline outside her window, Carrie found the courage to close her eyes and lose herself in dark slumber. Thank you for listening to the LZR Project. If you are interested in reading more of David's Expired Reality series, please check out the author's webpage at davidnalderman.com.